In this episode, I tell you how I might have fixed something. Hey, what's going on? What's going on? My name is Michael Sahno, and welcome to the Sea and Land Fitness Podcast. This podcast is, of course, brought to you by Sea and Land Fitness. So head on over to www.sandlfit.com. That's www.sandlfit.com. And check out our programs and everything we can do for you in the world of professional fitness. This podcast is also brought to you by, are you ready for this? 511 Tactical, makers of the greatest tactical fitness and tactical gear in general. Thorne Supplements, makers of some of the best supplements on the planet. Why? Because what's on the outside of the bottle is inside the bottle. And RDX Sports. We're also brought to you by RDX Sports, some of the makers of some of the finest fighting sports equipment. That's MMA, boxing, and sparring stuff. So look on down in the description and check it out, and I'll have a really great discount for you if you stick around till the end. All right, so what did I fix? And what could I fix? What's my skill set that would allow me to fix something? Well, as you guys know, I'm a tactical strength and conditioning facilitator from the National Strength and Conditioning Association, the NSCA. And it's spring, so I'm getting back into working out and stuff like that. And I think I'm getting a little ahead of myself. So what I fixed, I think, was something that has to do with my time on the range over at West Point. I'm going to have a sip of coffee real quick. Peter Madeira, this is for you. All right, so, I started that kind of flat. What the hell is this guy talking about? So, basically, I live across the river from West Point in the Hudson Valley. And I go over there and I shoot on Tuesdays or Wednesdays, once a week. I think we figured it out. A friend of mine from when I was in the Army, I shoot about 10,000 rounds a year. All right. So I shoot a lot. And one of the things that I want to do with Sea and Land Fitness is I want to apply my principles of, my physiological background, my background in physiology. I want to apply my academic strengths and my fitness strengths, being a tactical fitness instructor, basically. And I want to apply them to shooting. All right. And in order to do that, I need to get a couple of certifications. So I went and got this. So I already have my pistol license. So I wanted to go and I wanted to get my Utah and my Florida so that I could see, based on the instruction, you need to take a course in order to get these pistol licenses. Based on this instruction, you need to, based on what your goal is to try to get this license, you need to follow a course of instruction, which was offered at West Point. So I went to it and I took it for a couple of reasons. One, I wanted to have it from Utah and from Florida. I guess Utah is recognized throughout the country in a number of states, and Florida is somewhere where I hope to transplant the business in the Jacksonville area. So it worked for me. But I also wanted to see, based on my experience in history and academic history. I wanted to see what it was like to instruct someone with a firearm. Because I've run ranges. So I was in the Navy for 6 years, in the Army for 4. Um, I had been on ranges in the Navy, and I had run ranges in the Army. And I already had a background. I already knew about firearms instruction, but I wanted to see what civilian firearms instruction was like. So I went and took this course, and it was really enlightening. And I found that with my cheery personality and my ability to convey information simply, that, this was something I had considered, and now it was reinforced. I really wanted to add to the sea and land fitness portfolio, so to speak. So, you have individuals who are already in the military, or let's say you have a kid who's not in the military and he's never fired a gun before. And he says to you, I want to be an Army Ranger, or I want to be a Navy SEAL. Well, there's a level of familiarization that comes in this activity, just like in any sport. There's a level of familiarization that comes with developing confidence and developing a good and safe skill set. So I wanted to take this course, and I took this course. I took it about a year ago. Yeah, actually it was about a year ago. And I was blown away. I was blown away with the people over there, and what wound up coming from that was that I wound up going over to West Point all the time, once a week. And the great thing is, it helped me overcome some social anxiety issues I was having, that I had developed post-military. Um, a lot of those had been worked on when I attended college, tried to get myself, I had to be in college in person for my undergrad. So I had to work on that. But there were still some things that, there were still some hiccups. I would find excuses not to do certain things. And to give you an example of how far along I've come, I had to get an eye exam for my left eye. I'm having an issue with my left eye. So I called the eye doctor, and she said, can you come in tomorrow? And it's down in New York City, and it's 50 miles away. And my inclination was, no, I can't do it, because somewhere in my head I said, you need to prepare for this. You need to be ready for that. And I said, in that moment, like directly after saying, no, I can't, I was like, no, bullshit. Yeah, I can be there. No problem. And I wound up going. Now, for the average person, that's probably just something simple. Yeah, you get an appointment, you go to it. But for me, it hasn't always been easy. So that's one of the things. Driving over bridges can at times be troublesome for me. But hey, I do it once a week to go over to West Point, even when it's crazy windy. But long story short, I knew that I wanted to add firearms fitness and firearms proficiency and training to what we do with Sea and Land Fitness. We're, helping people who want to become military members or law enforcement officers. So why not just have that as something we can also offer? So there are a couple of things that I need. One of them is some technical courses so that I can do, simple on-range repairs. And for that, I'm going to this workshop that's being offered by West Point called the Glock Armorers course. So I'm going to learn how to, get into the guts mechanically. I already get into the guts mechanically of, people who engage in fitness, but now I'm going to be able to get into the guts of a Glock and several other firearms that are based upon that. What does that have to do with it? Well, it's a step process, because there are also, and I'm going somewhere with this. There are a couple of other courses that I have to take, and two of them are the NRA. Oh, there's another course I need to take, and that is the Range Safety Officer course, which I'm gonna take as soon as it's available. Not a big deal. I already know the vast majority of what's going to be in the course, but it'll be nice to learn it from a civilian perspective. And then these two other courses that I have to take, and they are the NRA Pistol Instructors course and the NRA Rifle Instructors course. So that is the subject of what I think I fixed. So I don't know if you guys notice. If you guys have watched this on YouTube, you'll see that my hand shakes. My right hand shakes. So I have what's called an essential tremor. All right. Doctors don't know why it exists. I've done a little bit of research into this. They don't know why it exists. They don't know what causes it. They don't know how to cure it. They do have medications that you can take to inhibit it to some degree, but I'm not a big fan of medications if I don't need to take them. If I can manage or find an alternative, I would rather do that than take a pharmaceutical, a medication. So the reason I bring this up is because when I shoot and I come together on a pistol, my tremor ceases. I don't know why. Some of the research that's been done suggests that essential tremors increase with stress. Now, for me, my nose itches. Sorry about that if you're watching. I'm going to have another sip of coffee real quick. Hold on. So there's some research that suggests that essential tremors increase with stress. Now, when I shoot, it is such a stress-free environment. Now, you could bring someone onto a shooting range and boom, boom, pop, pop, boom, boom, and they'd be lost. They would be overcome. They would be overwhelmed with all the noise and confusion and the smell, the acrid smell of gun smoke. That ozone from firing rounds. I'm not one of those people. I am Buddha on a gun range. I am so calm. It is my jam. I love to do it. I have been shooting since I was in Boy Scouts. It's kind of a goofy story. I went away to Boy Scout camp, never been away before in my life. And I was terrified. I was crying. It was horrible. I think at some point my parents had to come pick me up. Yeah, because I was sleepwalking and I stepped in a fire bucket and woke up screaming in the middle of the woods. But for the time that I was there, they figured out real quick that I did not lose my shit when I was on the gun range. They had a little 22 range. And they said, here you go. Just give this kid all the 22 ammo you can. Lay him down and just have him shoot. And I did that for I think 3 or 4 days. And I loved it. I was in heaven. And I've always been able to shoot a rifle. But over the past, and I was infantry. So when I came into the infantry, they were like, Squid, how do you know how to shoot? I'm good with a rifle. And I could shoot I had a couple of duties when I was in the Navy where I had to have a rifle. And yeah, so never had a problem, never had an issue. And then I decided to take this course. I already had pistols and had shot some here and there, but had never really tried to get better or understood what it took to get better. So I spent the past year on the range at West Point trying to increase my marksmanship skills with a handgun, with a pistol. And I've come a long way. I've come a huge way. But everything has limitations. So you remember how I told you how I don't my tremor goes away when I shoot? Well, that's partially true. So it goes away for probably the first 4 shots and then comes back in after the 4th shot, the 5th shot, 6 or 7. And then I can readjust and I can get back in and I can really get back on target. But I am having issues with whether or not I can break that 4-shot barrier, so to speak, because I get in a rhythm. Boom, 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 even fast. Boom, boom, boom. Those 4 shots, they're going dead nuts right where I want them to go. I have a winger either on the first one or the last one out of 5. So I really started engaging my sports science mind, and I was asking myself, all right, wait a minute. So the tremor goes away when I shoot. So is the problem when I'm shooting with my tremor? Or is it musculature in nature? Is it a muscular problem? So and the reason I came to this is so when I shoot this like not little, it's actually kind of a big target. It's a marksmanship target that has these circles that are about that big. I'm doing a poor job showing it on the screen. Here you go. They're about that big. And then so let me lay out the target. So the target's about maybe 3.5 feet by 2 feet. Okay. 2 feet wide, 3.5 tall. And in the top left and the top right are these stop sign shaped targets with a small white square in the center. Okay. And then, but they're smaller. They're about maybe 2/3 the size of a stop sign. All right. And in the center between those at the top is a small black circle. And then below the stop sign, there's 2 black circles, one on each side. And then below those 2 black circles, there's another 2 black circles. And then in the center, there is a silhouette and all of these have that little white square in the center. And that's where you want to really aim. So there's a couple of things going on here. And I'm shooting and I'm noticing. Sorry, let me take a sip real quick. So I'm shooting and I'm noticing that on the big stop sign shapes, my shot group is spread out wide. What I mean by that is my bullets are not close together. But on the small black circles, all of my bullets are shooting inside. All of my rounds are shooting inside that black circle. So and when I get to that silhouette, which is about this tall, about maybe 2 feet tall, my shots aren't tight like that. They're spread out inside the interesting. So they're spread out inside the silhouette. But when I do 2 to the body, 1 to the head, all of my shots in the head area, which is thinner, all land inside that black. So my sports science mind is teaming, filtering through all the sports psychology stuff. And I am not, so we have a thing called attendance. Okay. And attendance is where you attend to something, you pay attention to something. So I figured out that what I'm doing is I should be paying attention to that small black square in the target, but I'm not. What I'm paying attention to is the big black area and ensuring that I put my bullets in the big black area. What I need to be paying attention to is putting my bullets in the small white area. That will make them. So I'm already trying to sports science this thing. And on top of that, so I told you there were some at the top, then there's a row below that and a row below that. And I started finding and using that attendance thing, I had made my shots, my groups of shots smaller and smaller and smaller. So there's an application of sports science immediately. I just used sports psychology to increase my skill set in shooting sports. Boom. How freaking dope is that? So now another problem I'm finding is that when I shoot up plane, boom, totally fine. When I come down to the next row, yeah, I'm still good. But when I come down and go left, my group starts to get bigger. Even in the small circle, it's staying in the small circle, but it goes bigger. So now I started to pay attention to my muscles. What's tense when I'm shooting? Where in my body am I tense? Where do I need to loosen up? And I found out that when I go down and to the left, there's tension in my lats, in my back muscles. So one of the things that I decided was that, hey, wouldn't it be kind of cool if I developed some kind of shooting, stretching program? And I put it on the back burner. I meant to do it. I've got so much stuff to do already with the newsletter, putting out the video library, these podcasts, and the store stuff, all that. It always got put onto the back burner. So last week, when I went to the range, the guy who runs it, Mike, the guy who's normally there when I go, Mike, he's a close friend. He was telling me, hey, are you taking the NRA pistol instructor course? I said, yeah. Are you ready for the shooting portion of it? And I said, yeah, I've been getting real good. Shouldn't be a problem. And he goes, this is the target. And he pulls out this target and it's got 4 circles about that big, about the size of those black circles, but a little bit smaller. And he said, you got to put 5 in each circle, and you got to do it at 10 feet. You got to do it at 15 feet, and you got to do it at 20 feet. And I was like, okay, I could probably do that out to 20. I tend to have more wingers are when your bullet doesn't go where you want it to go. It just wings off. And the confidence that I had developed over this year waned a little bit, but I got up there and I shot the 10 foot and did pretty well. I think 3 out of the 4, I got them all where it was supposed to. But then he hit me with something else. He said, okay, but the instructor target, are you ready to hit that? And I said, well, yeah, what's the instructor target? He said 45 feet. I was like, what? 45 feet, and you got to get 16 of 20. I think it was 16 of 20 in the target. So I was like, okay. Let me see if I can do that. So I put the target out at 45 feet. And stress and nerves, and wouldn't you know it, my tremor came back. I hit everything but the inside of that target. And I am convinced that it's not because I'm a poor shot. My head got in there. My head got in the game. My head started going 45 feet. Oh my God, we can't do that. And so I am going to work to try to increase my confidence. But one of the things that I noticed during this, and this is where I came up with that 4 shots and the fifth one is whatever. I noticed that as I was coming up, I started shaking. You know what I mean? Couldn't hold for as long as I needed to in order to do the course of fire. So I developed these exercises. And I'm going to put them up on the website, on the YouTube channel. Maybe I'll even make a workout out of it, like a shooter's stretch and strengthening workout. And they're simple. They're really simple. One of them is literally you take 2 10-pound weights or whatever's comfortable, and you hold them close to your upper chest, and then you come out to where you would shoot, and you can see my hands shaking right now if you're watching this, because I did the workout yesterday. I did it on Saturday and I did it yesterday. And I noticed that the shake was different. The shake was from fatigue, not from a tremor. The tremor is uncontrollable. The fatigue, I can kind of control. So I did that one where you go like this and you come back and you do that 3 sets of 10. And then I came up because remember I told you that bottom target, that bottom left, I was having trouble with. So I came up with you come across the side of your gut and you bring the dumbbell out like this and you come back down and you move across a very specific path. You don't lower it. And it's just a simple dumbbell exercise. You do it with both arms. And it should strengthen you while also loosening up those muscles. I'm going to try to find, I'm also going to work on strengthening my shoulders. Because I think the shoulders and the triceps have a lot to do with it as well. But one of the things that I noticed, and the reason I know it's working, this is going to sound weird. So right here in my palm, after the workout on Saturday, I had the worst cramp, and a little bit of tingling. So I'm convinced that the essential tremor, I kind of know what causes it. It's got to be electrolytic, meaning it's got to be either sodium or potassium, and somewhere in this thing called the sodium potassium pump, which moves sodium and potassium inside and outside of the nerve cell, the neuron. And I think that there's some type of interrupt or dysfunction in that part of the process of sending signals, and it just gets stuck and keeps sending the signal over and over again. Could be potassium deficiency, could be a ton of stuff. But I am developing this stuff. I'm noticing that there are different sensations in my hand, as if a lot more resources are going into sensation versus just making it shake like a son of a gun. Could be could be in my head. But who knows? But that's what I'm working on, and I will bring you guys an update. I know that was a weird conversation, and it was like, what the hell is this guy talking about? We want to hear about push-ups, which are also going to be a part of that shooting, stretch, and strengthening program. I got to write that down. That's a good name. But it's I hope I'm onto something, and I hope that I'm able to alleviate a lot of this discomfort and not being able to do shit that's related with the essential tremor. You guys should see me drink a cup with a straw because it goes, I hit my nose. It's hilarious. But yeah, that's what I'm working on. And thank you for listening to it. All right, that's all I got for you guys today. Thank you so much for suffering through all of it. As I said in the beginning, this podcast is brought to you by Sea and Land Fitness, my company, Sea and Land Fitness. So head on over to www.sandlfit.com. That's www.sandlfit.com. Go over there, check out our programs. We're putting up new programs. We're adding things to the exercise library. We've got a lot of great branded gear. And hats and t-shirts and all kinds of stuff. So go on over there and check it out. Also, this podcast is brought to you by 511 Tactical, maker of some of the best tactical gear and tactical fitness gear on the planet. I use it. I use their sandbags and their vests, their plate carriers, for fitness. They're amazing. So head on over to the link in the description below. We're also brought to you by Thorne Supplements. What's on the outside of the bottle is inside the bottle because they use third-party people to check out and make sure that they're being honest. And I trust them. I use their creatine. I use their branched chain amino acids. And what else do I use? I use their protein as well after my workout. So go on over there. A bunch of that stuff is in the store that I have set up on their website. You'll get 10% off if you use the link in the description below. And head on over to our last sponsor, RDX Sports, and pick yourself up some focus pad mitts, which you're going to need, or some protective gear or boxing gloves or whatever for the fight sports in your life. We give you a 10% discount that you can use, a discount code that you can use in the checkout. So head on over through the link in the description below. And that is all I've got for you guys. Oh, our newsletter is out this month. A lot of fun stuff. The person I was supposed to interview, that kind of fell through, so I give you insight. I interviewed myself, so I give you insight into what Sea and Land Fitness was in the past, is now, and will be in the future. So, all right, that's all I got for you. Later, honey badgers, out.